I knew I was about to be erased when Logan, the CEO's polished son with a vape in one hand and ego in the other, leaned on my cubicle and asked, "So, what exactly is it you do here?" Not how I do it. Not how well. Just why I was even on payroll after 18 years as the silent heartbeat behind a $30 million server network at a Chicago logistics firm. I'd worked through blizzards, recovered from ransomware attacks that would have sunk smaller companies, and nursed our authentication systems like temperamental pets. That Tuesday, sipping a burnt gas station coffee, I overheard Logan in the break room telling an intern IT people are like office plants, decorative and replaceable. My soul floated above my body in pure rage. I didn't show it. Rage doesn't reboot servers. I just tightened my ponytail, swiped my badge, and headed to the server room unseen, unheard, but keeping the kingdom running. Quick note: 97% of you hear these stories without subscribing. Tap subscribe, drop a like. Unlike Logan, it actually helps. While marketing debated fonts and execs argued over logo colors, I lived in the shadows of terminal windows and log files. Real power smells like ozone and hot circuitry at 2 a.m. when you're the one reviving a dead power supply. My title was Senior Systems Administrator, but I was the wall between order and chaos. Every certificate trust chain and failover mine. No plaques needed. I was the ghost in the machine. That changed 3 months ago when Logan arrived fresh from some overpriced MBA program and was handed the title Chief Innovation Officer. First week, he started streamlining, meaning firing legacy staff. Why do we even have an internal server? Can't we just move everything to the cloud like Netflix? If he said AWS again, I'd bury his smartwatch in thermal paste. He'd smirk at my code-covered screens and toss out, "Don't work too hard. We don't bill clients for Matrix cosplay." Then finger-gun himself in the hallway mirror. The CEO, once a good man, now nodded along, too rich or tired to push back. I stayed quiet, perfect in the background while Logan posed for LinkedIn selfies and axed anyone over 40. Behind the scenes, I set up silent audit logs, time-stamped backups, and a specific set of conditional triggers. People like Logan think power is in corner offices. Real power hums through server racks at midnight in the hands of the one who knows what happens when the root certificate expires. Logan's first week wasn't over when Angela from finance here since the strip mall days was escorted out mid-lunch. No handshake, no goodbye, just gone. This wasn't restructuring. It was a purge. Project managers gone for energy mismatches, facilities head-fired for print-first mindset. Logan bragged on Zoom about burning down Silo's code for replacing experience with his caffeine-deprived startup pals who thought Jira tickets were beneath them but would spend hours redesigning Slack emojis. Then came the moment. In a leadership sync, Logan swiveled his chair like a motivational youth pastor and said, "Do we really need the IT lady in these meetings? No offense, but this is more strategic than resetting passwords." I didn't blink, didn't defend myself, just glanced at the projector clock, 11:14 a.m., the exact timestamp I'd archive in my private Logan torpedo plan folder. By then, I'd backed up every infrastructure map certificate chain and master password into encrypted containers with off-site redundancy. I confirmed the root certificate still ended with my credentials and updated the expiration triggers. If no one renewed them, at midnight, every handshake between systems would meet 2 words: access denied. And I didn't tell a soul. Not because I was hiding, but because no one asked. 11:14 a.m. Good. That timestamp would live forever in the logs I was archiving under the folder name, just in case, Logan Torpedo Plan. I'd already started my backup campaign, every change, every certificate, renewal, every patch schedule master, password chain, and infrastructure map. I downloaded every diagram I'd drawn by hand, snapshotted the cron jobs, copied my personal runbooks, and saved the audit logs. All of it encrypted with timestamps, checksum hashes, and off-site redundancy. You don't spend 18 years in IT without knowing how to survive a digital extinction event. Logan began calling emergency stand-ups, grilling us on why we hadn't migrated our customer platform to some half-baked SaaS startup he had a gut feeling about. He tossed around buzzwords like synergy architecture and cloud-native pivot strategy, as if saying them out loud did anything. Then the usual jab at me. "You're still here." He once joked, "We could automate your job with a shell script." Funny, the shell script I'd written could nuke his access tree in 5 seconds if I triggered it. Still, I smiled and played the ghost. Ghosts don't scream, they haunt. Soon, HR through CHAR started pushing voluntary retirement incentive packets. Translation: take the cash and leave before Logan forces you out. By the end of week 2, 10 people were gone. Most of them were the keepers of institutional memory. I'd once fixed a junior dev's infinite loop that crashed our database in under an hour, no thank you given. And now, Logan thought he could replace me with a Chrome extension. He never asked what I knew or managed. He just assumed the infrastructure worked because tech just works. Because it always had. Because I made it so. Quietly, I began locking down permissions, not blocking, just protecting. I scheduled redundancy checks, staggered backup scripts, confirmed the root certificate chain still ended in my name. It did. I updated the expiration triggers, tying them to my credentials. If no one renewed them, the platform would go dark at midnight. No crash, just silence. Every handshake denied. And I didn't tell a soul. Not when Logan renamed the IT Slack channel to SAR Tech Support Babes and tagged me in a meme of a grandma holding a Wi-Fi router like a bomb. I simply added another line to my private log. Logan held a town hall in the break room, standing under a crooked motivational poster, "Teamwork makes the dream work." Half the company crowded in. The rest joined a Zoom call that started late because he'd unplugged the router to set up his Bluetooth speaker. "Let's get real," he said, pacing like a TED Talk reject on Red Bull. "Nobody is irreplaceable. This isn't a family. It's a machine. If a cog breaks you, replace it." Silence followed, heavy as wet concrete. People stared into coffee cups. Someone coughed. Logan grinned like he'd just delivered a commandment. If you've been hooked so far, hit that subscribe button. There's more to this story than they ever expected, and you won't want to miss what comes next. I didn't react. Just crossed my arms at the back, watching him like a lightning strike waiting to happen. An hour later, Outlook pinged mandatory HR review. The glass-walled HR room looked transparent but felt like an interrogation box. Logan was already there, lounging in a mesh chair, sipping a protein shake that smelled like wet chalk. Beside him sat Melissa from HR, who always seemed one passive-aggressive email away from a meltdown. "Hey," Logan said, stretching the word like we were old friends. "Been doing hard evaluations of organizational impact and redundancies. Honestly, this isn't personal." Translation: I need to look powerful, and you're the easiest scalp I can take without Dad stepping in. Melissa slid a manila envelope across the table. Severance terms. 2 weeks' pay. NDA. A smiley face sticker on the last page like that would make it feel less like an execution. Logan continued. "We're pivoting to a more cloud-native architecture. A lot of your skill set overlaps with automated solutions we're exploring." ChatGPT, I blinked. "What time is it right now?" Melissa glanced at her watch. 10:43. "Okay," I said. And that was it. No theatrics, no begging. You don't argue with a wildfire, you let it burn. "We're pivoting to a more cloud-native architecture," Logan said, like he understood what that meant. "Frankly, a lot of your skill set overlaps with automated solutions we're exploring. ChatGPT, I blinked. Once, twice, took a breath. Then, "What time is it right now?" Melissa from HR glanced at her watch. 10:43. "Okay," I said. No theatrics, no begging. You don't argue with a wildfire, you walk away and let it burn. Your badge has been deactivated," she added quickly. "Access ends in 10 minutes. We'll escort you to collect personal items." Logan leaned forward, smirking. No hard feelings, right? You've been a real staple like one of those old reliable desk chairs. I didn't reply, just stared long enough for his grin to twitch, then stood turned toward the door and paused. Make sure whoever replaces me knows what a Esche 256 chain is and how to renew one. He squinted. Melissa blinked like she was buffering. I left. No one escorted me. No one stopped me. I walked to the same desk I'd sat at when this place ran on hand-me-down rooters and caffeine fumes. I packed a mug that said, "I void warranties," a USB drive shaped like a middle finger, and a half-eaten bag of trail mix. My terminal stayed on log monitor open certificate chain status green. For now. Countdown 9 hours, 17 minutes. I unplugged my phone, slung my backpack over my shoulder, and walked out without turning around. They thought they were firing the help. What they'd done was fire the pilot mid-flight. Flashback 2011. We had 6 employees and a dream. I slept under my desk with a screwdriver in one hand and a gas station coffee in the other. No IT policies, just duct tape and trust. So I built it all from scratch: subnets, directories, cert trust chains, scheduled jobs to keep the wolves outside. No third-party junk. No plug-and-play cloud vendors. Just me, a bash shell, and enough caffeine to sedate a moose. The CEO didn't want to hire security consultants, so I became one self-taught, over-caffeinated, probably legally insane by industry standards. But it worked. We needed authentication infrastructure, so I hand-wrote a certificate issuance process. Self-signed at first, then a proper internal CA. I tied it to access controls and locked it down like a dragon under a mountain. Everything: internal tools, client portals, automation scripts, third-party API calls, validated against a root issued from my admin profile. No one changed it because they didn't have to. Every 180 days, I'd renew the root. Every 90, the intermediates. Overnight scripts avoided downtime. Monitoring daemons watched for expiry. Renewal required elevated privileges, mine. A 5-step handshake just to see the config file. I once offered to document it. The CEO waved me off. "You're the only one who understands it." I offered again after a near-miss outage 2 years ago. He said, "If you get hit by a bus, we'll figure it out." I wasn't hit by a bus. I was hit by Logan. So when I left, the script stayed. Timers ticked. Midnight crept closer like Cinderella's funeral. Nobody knew the carriage was about to turn into a flaming pumpkin. That night, I sat on my porch with a beer watching lightning bugs. 6 hours to go when my phone buzzed. It was Kyle from DevOps. Logan's flexing hard just told the team he decentralized legacy protocols and pushed dev scripts to production. "No clue what you did here, but things are weird." I texted back, "He'll find out soon." I wasn't bluffing. Those weird things were the system grumbling jobs, skipping execution services, stalling certificate chains, failing silent checks no one knew existed. They were warning lights before the engine seized. I'd seen them once before, back when I fat-fingered a renewal script and nearly took out our QA environment. That screw-up nearly broke me. I never made it again, and after that, I added the hidden kill switch flag. Now all I had to do was wait. That screw-up years ago nearly broke me. I never made it again. Instead, I added a hidden flag to the root certificate, an override lock. If the certificate wasn't renewed manually before midnight, the chain would break, and every authentication-dependent service would go down. No auto-renew, no fallback. It was the nuclear option buried deep under layers of convenience. I'd even warned the CTO once back when I still believed someone cared. He nodded politely and went back to his Jira dashboard. So when Logan fired me without a single question, without glancing at a dependency map, I didn't panic. I let the timer run. The systems were online, but running on fumes. Any dev worth their salt would have seen the alerts stacking up, but Logan had already alienated the only people who could read logs without pictures. As midnight crept closer, that flag I'd planted years ago waited in silence. No valid signature by 12:00 a.m. Boom. Dead certs. Invalid chains. No logins. No internal tool access. No dashboards. No client authentication. Just access denied. Everywhere. I'd built the system like a heart. It beat because I told it to. And Logan had just pulled the plug on the pacemaker. It began with a hiccup, a missed alert. Monday through 12 a.m. A nightly cron job failed. The finance cluster backup didn't trigger. Normally, the alert system would ping DevOps, but the SSL tunnel handshake failed, so the monitor shrugged and went quiet. No alert. Just nothing. By 9 a.m., reports trickled in. Client portal logins timing out, staging environments failing, internal ticketing tools loading like cold molasses. Logan, of course, was too busy adding reaction GIFs to the Slack theme he'd renamed Log Hub. By noon, engineering was in full panic. Stand-ups turned to witch hunts. Anyone else seeing auth errors, API response times are trash. Is Jenkins dead? I can't push to Git. One intern suggested a certificate issue. Logan clapped back like the kid had keyed his Tesla. Don't spread paranoia. Certs auto-renew. Basic IT hygiene. Except they don't. Not without me. He posted in Slack. This smells like legacy tech debt. Who owned that before someone tagged me? Then remembered I was gone. Deleted it. Kyle from DevOps DM'd me. Did you build the cert thing to break on purpose? Me. Define break. Kyle feels like the whole back end's held together with gum and prayers. Silent failures. Everywhere. Logan's throwing laptops. Me. Then yes. Working as intended. He didn't reply. I didn't blame him. The ship was taking on water, and the only person who knew where the buckets were had been thrown overboard with a severance check. By Tuesday, marketing couldn't access campaign dashboards. Sales complained CRM logins weren't syncing. A senior PM tried to escalate to Logan. He dismissed it as post-deployment turbulence. Tell that to the back-end team staring at a 403 wall every time they pushed a hotfix. Or to the QA engineer who cried when 3 hours of regression tests vanished because Jenkins couldn't verify the test environment's identity. Nothing could talk to anything. Trust was collapsing like a slow-motion building demolition, but the countdown kept ticking. Before I left, I'd planted a watchdog, a simple bash script looping quietly. If my cert wasn't renewed before midnight, it would log out every root process, invalidate tokens, and cascade failed authentication events across the stack. No one would see the nuke. Just lights flickering, then fading. Meanwhile, Logan went full tantrum, accused the DevOps lead of silo hoarding, claimed our partners were sabotaging integrations, told HR he was considering legal action against the previous sysadmin me for withholding tribal knowledge. As if I hadn't offered to document everything for years. Someone found my folder rootca renewalguide.pdf. Too bad it was encrypted. The password hint might as well have read, "You should have asked me." By Wednesday night, error logs read like obituaries. Services dying quietly one after another. No alarms, no recovery. Just silence. No fire drills. The monitoring system that should have been screaming couldn't authenticate anymore. And me, I was 2 states away in a roadside diner eating greasy waffles, phone on Do Not Disturb, watching from my laptop as the system's status bars shifted from green to yellow to blood red. Logan thought the kingdom would run fine without its steward. But castles rot fast when no one oils the hinges. 12:03 a.m. The root cert expired. 12:08 every handshake failed. 12:12 internal tokens invalidated. By 12:01 the company's digital nervous system flatlined. From the outside it looked like a hiccup. Inside the floor had vanished. Users couldn't log in. API calls hit a wall of cold rejection. Dev environments wouldn't spin up. Dashboards sat frozen, spinning their loading wheels like rosary beads. Across 6 time zones, engineers stared at error messages they hadn't seen since onboarding certificate validation failed. Root trust not established. 403 access denied. Slack and email went dead silent. 12:07 a.m. Logan's phone rang. He let it go to voicemail. The second call, the third. By the fourth, he answered, voice groggy. What the hell is going on? Silence. Then an engineer's brittle voice. We're locked out. So log back in. We can't. Then fix it. We don't have the credentials. No one did. That's when the panic started. Logan launched a Zoom war room from his kitchen, shirtless and swearing. Engineers joined from bedrooms, garages, even a hospital waiting room. It looked like a hostile takeover. Except there was no attacker, no virus, no breach. The system had simply stopped trusting anyone. They dug through recovery keys, old scripts, orphan backup accounts. Every path looped back to the same dead end, the expired root cert tied to my admin profile. Someone muttered, "Did anyone know this was coming? I thought certs auto-renewed." "Who used to handle this?" Logan's voice cracked. "What about backup certs?" "We had redundancies, right?" A tired DevOps engineer replied, "All chained to the same root." "Then reset it." "We can't." "You can't reset trust from the outside." A long, awful pause. Then, "Did anyone check the renewal process?" "It's a manual script. Needs admin credentials. Last run had to be before expiry. Who had access?" The screen went quiet. Faces in the glow of dead monitors. Then someone said it soft. "She did." No one said my name. They didn't need to. The logs were already giving me away clean time-stamped entries up to 10:43 p.m. My final logout. Logan's face went pale. "No. Someone call legal. We're not going down over a tech issue." But it wasn't just a tech issue, it was the issue. Every contract, SLA, and audit clause depended on secure system continuity. Without a functioning cert infrastructure, they weren't just offline, they were non-compliant. No logins, no clients, no contracts. Logan had inherited the kingdom without the keys. By 1:17 a.m., he'd gone full rabid raccoon, pacing barefoot through the office like his dad's name could scare the servers back to life. "Use a backup admin," he barked. "We did," the security engineer replied. "All accounts are federated under the same chain. Then create a new cert. You can't sign a new root when the trust anchor is invalid. It's like asking a ghost to notarize your birth certificate." Logan spun, flinging a stress ball that bounced off the espresso machine he'd proudly installed last week, labeled Innovation Fuel Station. Outside the glass walls, the office glowed red from error monitors. Half the employees slumped in chairs, eyes bloodshot, watching dashboards full of screaming metrics. System downtime, login failures, client-side errors, CRMs offline, support chat dead, even payroll locked out. It was a digital extinction event, and the outside world had noticed. By 2:06 a.m., 3 top-paying clients issued formal breach notices. Legal teams circled like vultures. One threatened to revoke licensing entirely if service wasn't restored by noon. Another client threatened damages, citing 7-figure SLA penalties. At 2:32 a.m., a tech reporter tweeted hearing chatter about a massive platform outage. Root cert issue, entire system deadlocked. Retweets exploded. By 3:00 a.m., it hit Reddit, then trended on LinkedIn under the headline, "What happens when you fire the only person who knows how your skeleton is wired?" Logan was still flailing like a drunk pilot punching buttons in a burning cockpit. At 3:11, an engineer finally found a log buried deep in the backup audit directory. Fila name, final log access, 10:43 p.m. TXD. Inside just 2 lines, info manual certificate renewal authorized by admin root at company local. System access compliant and operational as of 10:59 p.m. No entries after that. Logan read it aloud like it was a foreign language. "What does that even mean?" The lead engineer replied flatly. means she knew this was coming. She left it healthy. We let it expire. A younger dev added, she asked last year if we wanted her to document cert renewal protocols. We laughed. Another voice quiet. She warned you right before she left. Logan's face went blank like the universe had personally betrayed him. Then came the pivot blame. This is sabotage, he hissed. She planned this. It's criminal. But no one nodded. No one backed him. They didn't love me, but they trusted me. And when everything else collapsed, trust was all that stood. Someone pulled up Slack archives from the week before I left the timestamp the message, make sure whoever replaces me knows what a Eshe 256 chain is. They didn't. Now they were locked out of their own house watching it crumble from the sidewalk. At 3:27 a.m., Legal joined the war room. The head of legal didn't sit, just stood in the doorway, folder trembling in hand. We're exposed, she said quietly. We have until morning to reestablish trust systems, or we're in breach. Our entire infrastructure is unverifiable. Logan stammered. So, what do we do? She looked him dead in the eye. We need her. Silence. Then, almost a whisper. And we fired her. The room went still, not peaceful, but like the power had gone out. The moment before a building caves in. This wasn't just a tech failure. It was a betrayal of competence, of stewardship, of every quiet act of protection I'd done for 18 years while they treated me like furniture. Now the furniture had left and taken the floor with it. 4:09 a.m. Emergency board session. The top floor war room, a glass coffin over a skyline they could no longer monitor because the real-time dashboard was bricked. Half the board joined via video, hastily woken by calls from legal PR, and one terrified VP whose entire bonus now hung on a dead heartbeat monitor. The CEO entered last still, in golf slacks shirt, wrinkled, no tie, just rage. He didn't sit. He walked in like a man heading to a funeral, suspecting the killer was in the pews. What the hell happened? He asked no one in particular. The entire room flinched. Legal answered calm, deadly. Our systems are offline due to certificate expiry. Root credentials were tied exclusively to one profile. That profile was deactivated. Restore from backup, the CEO snapped. Impossible, Legal replied. All automated certs require an unbroken trust chain. No trust, no authentication. Backups won't verify. We can't even get into the vault. Silence hung heavy. We are in breach, she continued. 3 major clients have filed notices. One seeks immediate restitution. Another has paused all invoice payments. The third is already negotiating migration. The CEO asked slowly, how long until we're compliant again? If she helps us, maybe by noon. If she doesn't, we start the quarter with no platform, no clients, no reputation. No one moved. Then a whisper. She warned us. Another voice added. She asked about documentation. Said it had to be done before end of Q2. We laughed. The CEO's eyes shifted to Logan, pale and sweating, trying to look composed and failing. She didn't include any of this in her offboarding, Logan said. That's gross negligence. We should pursue legal action. She sabotaged. Stop. Legal cut in. She offered to document. Encrypted. Offered the password during exit. You dismissed her. I didn't think. No, the CEO's voice was sharp as ice. You didn't. Logan swallowed, tried to pivot. We just need to get her on a call, offer her a consultancy rate, or bring her back. She'll come back. No, the CEO repeated. You don't get to fix this. But Dad. Stop. His tone dropped like a guillotine. You fired the backbone of this company to feel like a boss. You turned my company into a LinkedIn circus. Now you're begging to reverse time. Logan's mouth opened, closed. No sound. The CEO turned to legal. Find her. Ask what it takes. Yes, sir. And Logan, effective immediately. You're no longer authorized to make any system decisions. You've cost us millions. He didn't yell. He didn't have to. The words hurt more. Logan sat frozen face like wet ash watching the door close behind a father who for the first time saw through him. In that room of lawyers, executives, and half-lit screens still echoing access, denied, it was brutally clear the only person who could fix it was the one they thought they didn't need. Unknown number, Ohio area code. Straight to voicemail. A text followed. Please. It's urgent. We need you. No name. No emojis. Just desperation in a polite mask. I set the phone down next to my mug. The coffee was lukewarm, but the sky was starting to bruise with sunrise streaks of blood orange across a horizon that didn't care about expired certs or ego-drunk fail-sins. I leaned back, listening to the wind through the trees. Somewhere a bird chirped. Somewhere downtown, a server pinged itself uselessly, wondering why no one trusted it anymore. An unmarked SUV pulled in. A kid in a company hoodie I'd never seen before stepped out clutching a black folder like it contained nuclear codes. "Ma'am, they said to give this to you directly." His hands shook. Inside a reinstatement offer. Executive level. Salary tripled. On top a note from the CEO. "This company is broken without you. I see that now. Please help us rebuild." A check followed, more zeros than cents. At the bottom, a fresh legal clause. All prior terminations nullified retroactively, full clearance restored upon my approval. I closed the folder slowly like it might bite. Said nothing. Handed it back. Nodded toward the road. "Did I tell them anything?" the kid asked. Voice small. "Yeah," I said, standing. "Tell them trust isn't something you reboot, it's something you protect." His eyes widened. He nodded and hurried off like he'd just delivered a prophecy. By noon, word leaked, Logan was gone. Officially resigned. Unofficially tossed so fast his keycard didn't have time to say goodbye. No farewell memo, no LinkedIn post, just a ghosted login and rumors he'd blamed legacy entropy. It didn't matter. The board had seen the receipts. The CEO had read the logs. The engineers stopped saying my name like a threat, started saying it like a shield. I never went back. Never logged in. Never reset a single cert. They rebuilt the system from scratch without me, as they should. The sun creeps over the horizon like it's got nowhere else to be. Past the hills and the train tracks, I can see the faint glow of the data center. Flickering. Trying. But still somehow dark. I take a sip. Smirk. Whisper to no one in particular should have asked me. Then I close my eyes and finally rest.